Some sweeping changes to try and cut down on carbon emissions about to hit our country here. So the president wants to cut levels by 30% by the year 2030. So how is the president going about it? Well, not through Congress, instead using his own pen and paper. While critics say all he's doing is killing jobs and raising electric bills, the administration argues that this will actually help the environment and improve the lives of future generations.
For the sake of our families' health and for our kids' future, we have a moral obligation to act on climate. When we do, we'll turn risks of climate into business opportunity. We'll spur innovation and investment, and we'll build a world-leading clean energy economy.
Joining me now, Republican Texas Congressman Michael Burgess and Democratic Colorado Congresswoman Diana DeGette. Both are members of the House Energy and Commerce Committee. Great to see the both of you.
Great to be with you, Gretchen.
All right, so Congresswoman DeGette, why is this a good idea?
Well, everybody knows that we need to do something nationally on climate change and also on these aging power plants, many of which are over 40 years old and have a lot of carbon emissions. So what the Obama administration has done, they've promulgated a rule, it's in the comment period, but it says states will decide what will be good for them to comply with these. And I think it's an excellent idea. In my state of Colorado, we've been able to do a lot. We've created jobs, we've reduced carbon emissions, and it's really working.
Well,
and I think this can work all around the country.
Speaking of jobs and the economy, one group that does not like this at all is the Chamber of Commerce. Take a look at these stats. Chamber says that these rules threaten to suppress average annual U.S. gross domestic product, GDP, by $51 billion a year. And then when you factor in jobs, Congressman Burgess, they claim it will lead to an average of 224,000 fewer U.S. jobs every year. And you say what?
Well, look, the GDP did shrink by 1% in the first quarter of this year. Some people want to blame that on winter. Others want to blame it on Obamacare. We've got winter every year. This is the first winter we've had Obamacare. These regulations, superimposed on every other bad thing that has happened to the economy, are, in fact, in my opinion, going to result in significant job loss. The people who are going to feel this the most are the people who are at the lower ends of the income spectrum. They are the ones who are going to have their prices drastically affected by these new regulations. And look, it was 5 years ago when Nancy Pelosi pushed this cap and trade bill across the floor of the House of Representatives in June in 2009. And it was so devastating to people across the country, you know, between the stimulus and the Affordable Care Act.
But it passed the House, but I believe it was stalled in the Senate. But Congresswoman DeGette, I mean, how do you counter what Congressman Burgess is saying? Because, I mean, let's face it, you guys don't agree on this at all.
Well, no, we don't, but we're still friends. And let me tell you, number one, the Obama administration has very different statistics showing a cost-benefit analysis. But beyond that, in Colorado 10 years ago, when we increased our renewable energy standard to 30% by 2020, the Chamber said the same thing. It's going to be desperate, people will lose jobs, and in fact, jobs had been created, and we met the standard even earlier than anticipated.
But what does this mean?
The new law that we passed.
What does this mean, Congressman Burgess? What does this mean, though, for the pocketbooks of people? Because when they get their electric bills, or let's talk about people who work in the coal industry, what is this going to do to their jobs?
Well, I think you'll find that the coal industry has already been significantly affected, and that the deleterious effect will continue. And after all, that was one of the promises that was made by this president when he was a candidate running back in 2008. In fact, this may be one of the few promises on which he's able to deliver. But this is going to be a problem. This is going to be a problem for every American energy consumer. Look, Texas also has a good renewable portfolio. We may be the #1 producer of wind energy. In fact, if we were our own country, we might be the #1 producer of wind energy in the world. The fact of the matter is that you cannot simply mandate this stuff from Washington. And every time you try to do that, you have the unintended consequences part kick in, and the result is going to be drastically high prices.
Congresswoman DeGette, does it bother you at all that the president used his pen and paper for this and Congress was not involved?
Well, here's the good news about this, Gretchen, is this isn't a federal one-size-fits-all approach. Administrator McCarthy worked with all of the states, and so every state, the coal-producing states, they'll be able to use coal to phase this in. Other states like Colorado that are ahead of the game, they'll be able to use other ways. States will be able to band together to have consortiums, so it's actually a state-based solution, and I think it makes a lot of sense.
All right, we'll have to wait and see as we approach 2030. Kind of scary to think about in and of itself. A fair and balanced debate. Thanks so much to both of you.